Hello, I'm Lyle Rapacki reporting from Prescott E-News in Prescott, Arizona. And today we have a very special guest. And for our Arizona viewers and listeners, you're going to be asking the question, what? Our guest today is James Bradley. Jim Bradley is a congressional candidate in California, Congressional District 33. So again, people who are going to be watching this and listening from coast to coast are going to go on, what does that have to do with Arizona? What does that have to do with Prescott? Well, let me tell you something, folks. You're in for a treat. Mr. Bradley and I have had a great conversation, and I thought what he had to share was so profound that a lot of people needed to hear it outside of California. James Bradley is running for the congressional seat in Congressional District 33, which encompasses Beverly Hills, Malibu, Santa Monica, and Pacific Palisades. That's really in the heart of the beast of the Democrat Party. That is the major fundraising vehicle, if you will, that keeps these Democrats, not just in California, but across the country going. And Mr. Bradley has decided to challenge the incumbent. And from what I'm hearing, Mr. Bradley is going toe-to-toe with him, if not already a point or two ahead. So this is really absolutely breaking news. And I think Mr. Bradley has quite a bit to share here. So, Mr. Bradley, thank you so very much for taking time out of your very busy campaign to join us here on Prescott E-News.
Yeah, my pleasure and an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, let me just start off, Mr. Bradley. You are in the belly of the beast. You're right there in the middle of the whole thing. We could say that the preponderant majority of California is socialist and extremely liberal. That's almost redundant. But you're in the middle of the whole thing. Beverly Hills, the Hollywood people, the stars, the directors. And from what I understand from your staff, they show up at your events. Same with the people in Malibu and Santa Monica. We're talking an extremely wealthy clientele community in that area. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you're spot on, Lyle.
And they are heavy contributors to very liberal causes and candidates historically.
That's correct.
Okay, so at least I'm batting 100 right now. And so here you are right in the middle of this whole thing, and you are not just holding your own, you're pulling ahead. Could you explain and give us some insight behind the curtain of what you're seeing and what you're doing?
Well, you know, it's odd to say the least. I can't think of a better time in history where if you have conservative values and you believe in the Constitution, that really resonates and pierces through the veil of the confusion, if you will. The progressive parties have hijacked the term. I call them the digressive party because everything they emulate is socialism, Marxism, and communism. So people in the district now that believe in free market, which a majority of the constituents do, even though they have left-leaning ideologies, they can see that the current Congressman Ted Lieu is gone completely off the rails. So that has been kind of like one of the many things that I point out to them. I don't really have to highlight it that much, but they can see through it because he's pretty much been AWOL since May 26. That's 145 days ago. He has not been in D.C., and he has a really bad voting record.
Well, let me push it a little bit, if I may. You're new to this. You're taking on an incumbent. You're in a district that is historically, I believe Henry Waxman was the congressional individual there for many years. I mean, we're talking an extremely liberal area within an extremely liberal state that is about to fall off the tracks. Right now, as you know, Mr. Bradley, I'm visiting in California, and I'm stunned at what I'm seeing. The homelessness problem is off the rails. It's not being reported. People would be shocked to drive the highways, freeways here and see what's going on. It's almost like cities within the cities. The companies that are leaving, the Fortune 500 companies that are abandoning California, the people, the residents that are abandoning California, none of this is being reported. So I'm going to push you, if I may, sir.
Please.
You're in the middle of this whole thing. Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, major fundraising. and you're not just holding your own, you're pushing back. Uh, what are you seeing? What are they saying to you?
Well, I always say my biggest form of advertisement is my incumbent by virtue of not being present. He's not accessible. People reach out to him all the time, doesn't respond. I've reached out to him several times to debate him. Zero crickets. We call our district the Silicon Beach, which is the most affluent district in all of the United States. So yes, you're right. There's a lot of fundraising going on, but here's some good news, and this should tell your constituents there, Arizona, and throughout the country. The district, our district, my district, uh, President Trump outraised Joe Biden this last reporting period in my district. So that tells you, even though we're socially liberal, I am not. I'm a fiscal conservative constitutional candidate. They're seeing it, and they're willing to put their money where the mouthpiece of I shouldn't call POTUS a mouthpiece because he truly is representing, I believe, the core of America. They're willing to put money behind him, and they're doing it, and it's quite encouraging. But honestly, I ran into this race on the heels of my last run, taking on Dianne Feinstein. So yes, I am new to politics, but I did do a run last in 2018. And out of that race, there were 32 candidates, and I came out third overall as a top vote getter for the Republican Party in the primary in 2018. So with that experience and that political, albeit 15 minutes of fame, I brought it into this race here, taking on Ted Lieu. And this young man, he has some really nefarious ties, and people are now becoming more awake or woke. So he's connected to some pretty crazy groups like CARE, Muslim Brotherhood, KMT, also the CCP. Through my opposition research, the man is supporting quite a few of those front groups for those non-American, non-constituent, and principles and value type groups that want to undermine our great nation. So there's a lot of things that I've researched and found, but I mean, honestly, we're now at $54 billion in debt in the state of California. And really, this Ted Lieu character, and I have a lot of friends also running against Adam Schiff and Maxine Waters. We kind of compare notes throughout our campaign trail. But Ted Lieu has allowed our district, which is Hollywood, and the Silicon Beach, the brain trust, the highest education and income earners in the United States. We have now been paralyzed by this COVID. We've now declined into a point of decay. We have over 66,000 homeless on the street in LA County. And of course, almost 5,000 of them are homeless veterans. And I, being a veteran, that's near and dear to my heart. We need to take care of those veterans. And if you've seen the flee of those homeless from California into Arizona, I think that's a very big point that Arizonans need to be aware of. What they are doing is to make our books look better is by putting them on buses, $100 in their pocket, shipping them off into Prescott and other parts of Arizona. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that homeless population grow as a result of shifting the numbers. In California, the homeless is the epicenter crisis. That's one of the biggest issues that I'm facing here in our district. And just like what we're sending to you, other states are sending to us. So this shell game that's going on, I'm getting to the root of it. I spent the last year on the ground to find out what is going on. I'm seeing there's absolutely no leadership. In fact, they're profiteering by this whole industry. It's an industry in California.
Same thing's happening with your businesses, your corporations. As I mentioned, Fortune 500 companies out of San Francisco. And I know that's not your district, but what would you say, or how would you speak into this issue as to what California should be doing to maintain their economic base, these corporations? But let me go one step further, if I may. Let's say you are elected and you become a congressman. And what I failed to mention to our viewers is that you have a very strong background in finance and in international business. You have dual masters. You have a master's in finance and a master's in international business. So you know what 2 and 2 is. It's 5 or 3, depending on my checking account, but 4 for you.
I
Okay.
can balance my checkbook if that's what you're saying.
Okay. So with your, and then after your service in the Coast Guard as air rescue, you went into business. You went into medical technology and all that. And so you've been in the business sector as a CEO. You understand what it means to pay the rent, so to speak, and to meet payroll and all that, and to keep good health. As a congressman, what incentives would you begin to push for your state, but also what should Arizona, Pennsylvania, because this show is going to be going across the nation. As Prescott E-News, we do this. We send it out across the nation. So somebody in Prescott could be listening, and somebody in Pennsylvania, what should their leadership be doing to create incentives to maintain the business in their states?
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent question. I believe in fiscal integrity of any corporation. Unfortunately, in the state of California, we're overregulated, and they continue to put more regulation for the businesses on the books. Regulations mean more taxes. So we're overtaxed. And unfortunately, a lot of the migration is a result of that. Ted Lieu is responsible for some of the biggest corporations leaving the state of California, one being Toyota. And when asked about now this Green Deal, which is really interesting because he purports and supports the Green Deal that he wants to have an effect, at a recent town hall, he was asked, what about all these jobs, the cottage industry to the petroleum industry? He cold-heartedly said, I guess they'll have to find a new job. So that's that kind of callousness and cold-heartedness that is permeated throughout the state of the current career politicians, albeit most of them are Democrat. My incentives will be tax holidays. I can't think of a better windfall for a startup, medium-sized, or large corporation to have a nice federal tax holiday or incentives or something that will keep them keep the lights on, if you will, to encourage them to stay in the district. We also have a business. We're working on a business stimulation package before we're in office to create not only tax holidays but low interest-bearing loans if it's a startup. And this also plays into those students that are strapped with a student debt. So picking from those great students, they can create a business plan, and we'll support it through the Small Business Administration and pay off their student debt. So we have a lot of programs we're playing with for startups up to mature corporations. Overregulation, unfortunately, I can't handle that or deal with it because at the federal level, all I can do is control the purse strings. And that's one incentive to keep them in long enough so we can make some changes here locally.
Now, this may sound like a softball question. It's definitely not a trick question, but as an elected official, if you're successful, it is your belief that elected officials do play a significant role in maintaining the economic stability of their state?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So go ahead, sir.
Yeah, their votes and what they bring to the floor for passage in voting and pass is that economic stimulus or the tax incentives or holidays. I call it holidays because eventually you'll have to come back on that payment schedule for the federal taxation. But we do have opportunity zones as well that we can play with. That was Donald Trump brought into play. There's a few federal land that we can just start little startups there as well. So the whole idea is that the business fleet, as well as the middle class. So when you lose a corporation, medium or large size corporation, there goes many of the middle class and the upper class. And that's what you're seeing hop, skip, and jump over Arizona, in Nevada, into Texas, and a few other states like Wyoming and a few others. So that is a very business-friendly environment from all those states. Now, my challenge will be, or mission will be, make this more business-friendly. It's going to require my coordination and working with local officials here because they see the same thing regardless of what party you serve. Where I stand is I'm part of the We the People movement. I think big government is killing us. We need to get them out of our back pocket. And a lower tax base will encourage those businesses to stay in the district and also our constituents. So
what you just said, Jim, you're part of the We the People movement. Is that resonating in the belly of the beast is what I'm going to call it because of the Hollywood, Santa Monica? I mean, that is extreme liberal. Is that resonating? And if it is, can you give us an example or two of what you've noticed in your speeches, your rallies? By saying what you just did, how is it resonating? How could we measure that? And what exactly could Arizona candidates, Pennsylvania candidates, Florida candidates, what should they be saying if you were tutoring them, given where you've been and what you're doing here, fighting this thing?
Yeah, the belly of the beast is a good way to just describe my district as well as a few others in LA. So that voice the reason, truth the reason, God in country. Oh, yeah, being a Christian conservative with progressive ideals. In other words, I believe in innovation. So, are they being a left or a blue district? They're feeling the pain just like anyone else. Hollywood is no longer the film capital of the world. We want to revive that, and we have a good plan to revive that. So it speaks to those liberals. And I tell you, when I look at liberals, I'm saying, hey, you've been deceived. You know, your party's left you. Do you really want to be part of a party? Or if you want to hold on to the D, hold on to the D, but vote wisely or don't vote at all in this election. So they're seeing it. They're seeing it really hit their pocketbooks. Many are thinking and actually are leaving the state. Many of the uber wealthy. We had Tesla move out. A lot of the big politicos are leaving as well. But I keep saying, hey, wait till after the election. Let me work a little, just a little bit. Let me get in office, and we'll stave the tie, because you got to really for those that are running that are currently in Arizona that are looking for reelection, speak the truth. Speak the truth. Be transparent with your constituents. They want to hear truly what you feel, and that you're supporting them, and that you're not being bought by any lobby. Well, obviously not lobby or a PAC dollar. I have not received one PAC dollar or any foreign influence. So keep your book straight, speak the truth, always be engaging with the constituents. And as you shape policies, engage with them. The best ideas come from the constituents because they feel the pain or they have creative ideas. So I'd say reach out to them, be open to them, open your doors. Now's the time to bring change. It's not about the establishment on other parties. It's about you representing and doing your job that they're paying you to do. So be approachable, open, and take that great brain trust that is part of, in my district, we have the best of the best. We have the best in technology, and that's computer technology, software code.
Right.
We have the best educational system. We have Pepperdine University. Love Pepperdine, UCLA, and a few others there. We have a think tank called Rand Corporation. So people pay big money to live here, but honestly, they're done with the party politics. And I have a very left-leaning, as I mentioned, Bernie supporters. And the Bernie supporters throughout the nation, remember what the Democrat Party did to Bernie. If nothing else, 2 times in a row. So now it's time to think outside the box, stop buying the lie, get down in the center, and now protect you and your family. Because if you want to go down the socialist Marxist track, you know you're not going to own anything eventually. And everything that you speak to, and I mean, the erosion of free speech, the first, second, third, all the amendments in the Constitution. We're looking at this point in history, losing our Constitution that protects your freedoms, religious, parental, individual, your health freedoms. So Don't take it lightly. Speak the truth. Speak or stand on the Constitution. If you believe in God, put them dead center in your heart and speak to the constituents that you mean it and you're passionate about saving.
Well, James, thank you very much for your insights and for sharing with us.
Thank you.
I knew when I talked with you and I was introduced to you that you had something very unique, not just for your California district, but also for Arizona and beyond that, given where you're at and what you're fighting. So any closing remarks you'd like to share with us?
No, I welcome everyone. Please focus local. I know it's the optics are really. We had Donald Trump visit Newport Beach just yesterday, but don't forget about the local politicians as well as those that are running for office. Support them. This is your time to affect change, be part of history. Of course, I welcome if anyone wants to donate to my campaign. We're grassroots. Contribute as little as $5 or as much as you want. We do have a limit of $2,800. But more importantly, the people that are fighting for you in the front line, those candidates that you believe in, give them every bit of time and a little bit of money that you have to get them over the finish line.
Thank you. Mr. Trump was in your neighborhood yesterday. He's in Prescott this morning or at noon today in about 45 minutes. So he's making the rounds.
He is.
Thank you very much, James, for this time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I know this was rather unique, being in Prescott and interviewing somebody from California, but I think Mr. Bradley had a lot to share, given the nature of where he's at and the battle he's fighting right in the heart of this socialist movement that is shaping our nation. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Lyle Rapacki, representing Prescott E! News, and that's how I see Arizona today.